Hey everybody, Reds Fan 1979 back here with a special baseball card video. Decided to start a new little series just on my way to work, stopped for gas, and of course, hands-free, got my phone on the dash. I thought I'd start a new fun little series called Chris's Card Talk. Something a little bit more interactive with the community, and as I try to build my subscriber count, towards 250 and beyond, just thought it would be a cool opportunity for people to get to know me a little bit better. So I thought for this first episode, I would do just kind of a little intro about myself and my collecting and PCs and things like that. So again, Christopher Hasen. I know a lot of guys mispronounce my name. It's okay, you're in good company. I'd say most people mispronounce my name, say it's Hansen, but it's actually Hasen. I go by the moniker Reds Fan 1979. 1979 was the year I was born, child of the 80s. Unfortunately, I missed the Big Red Machine by about 3 to 4 years, but I was alive to see the 1990 Reds win the World Series, even though they were big underdogs to the Athletics. Sorry for you A's fans out there. I know there's some out there, but it's our only World Series, in the last 40-some years, so glad to have that. Chris Sabo was my favorite player. Crazy Goggles, was the MVP, kind of an unlikely MVP, and then Barry Larkin, one of my favorite players, awesome Hall of Famer. So, anyways, just a little bit about my history of collecting. When I was a kid, my dad was military, and we used to live out in New Mexico, and he used to do these trips all the time, and I was probably about 7 years old. I think it was around 1986, and every so often he would go on his trip, and he'd come back and buy me a pack of football cards, basketball cards, baseball cards, 86, 87, pretty cool. I actually started out collecting more football cards. In fact, the 1986 Topps, if you guys remember, with the Jerry Rice rookie, I actually had one, but I really didn't know what I had because I didn't follow football as much. It's just kind of what he got for me. And I ended up selling it at a garage sale when I was like 10, 11 years old for like 30 bucks. Obviously now it's worth quite a bit more than that, but wasn't in great condition, probably like a near mint, at best. And then when I was out in New Mexico, I started collecting some basketball cards, the 86, 87 Fleer. You used to be able to go to the 7-Eleven and get them for like 50 cents a pack. I can't believe I just didn't buy a whole box, and save it. Nobody thinks to do that when they're a kid like that, but never got the Michael Jordan. Got a Charles Barkley rookie, Karl Malone. I still have a couple of those. Actually, they're really not in great condition. They'd probably go for like a PSA 5 or 6, something like that. But anyways, I probably have about maybe a third to half of the set. My favorite basketball player back then was Magic Johnson and Kareem. Really liked the Lakers of the 80s and early 90s. So, I got started into baseball in 1987. Really liked the wood grain design of the cards, very simple. And, back then, for collecting purposes, you really didn't find a lot of people putting things in top loaders, and there were binders and things like that, but you just didn't find a lot of top loaders and soft sleeves, and it just wasn't as popular then. Or I think maybe it was more for adults, but for kids, kids were still like putting them on their bicycle, in the spokes to make noise. So, anyways, sorry, the sun's getting a little crazy. I know it's kind of a crazy glare for me, but so I really enjoyed collecting that set. My parents actually got me this really cool Topps box, which I think I showed in one of my throwback videos. It was like a purple colored box with players all over it, and it had the different slots you could put the teams in. And that's what it was all about back then. It was a team, collecting teams, collecting your favorite players, trying to collect the whole set. You know, and the players that were worth something were like, you know, the Barry Larkin, the Bo Jackson, the Barry Bonds, the Mark McGwire, but, you know, nobody was really chasing them like they're chasing hits now. If you got them in a pack, it's cool. If you didn't, you know, you got some other neat cards for your set or for your team or your favorite team. So this was a different era back then. You know, now they call it junk wax. It's kind of funny, but back then, you know, that's what we had. You know, there was a couple brands. There was Topps, Donruss, Fleer, I think. I know Donruss did some Leaf cards, but I never got into those. So anyways, that's how I got into collecting as a kid. I stopped into baseball in about 93. I really liked Fleer Ultra when it came out, the 92, 93, and collected the sets of those. Thought they were kind of a neat thing. Again, pretty overproduced, so nothing crazy valuable. But I think I stopped collecting baseball around 1993, and then I got into hockey a little bit in high school. I had some friends who were from Michigan, got into the Detroit Red Wings, and collected some hockey cards like 94, 95, maybe a little into 96, but never got like any real serious or anything. There was a brand called SP that I really liked. I bought a box of that, and I actually have the set of that. They're pretty cool looking, but again, nothing crazy valuable from those. So, you know, from about 95 on, I got into high school and then into college, and then just lived life. I kind of just lost touch with cards for quite a while. Moved up to New England and got into the New England sports scene a little bit, the Patriots, the Red Sox, but more of a bandwagon fan. You know, I wasn't from there, and I still kept loyal to the Reds, you know, and the Bengals. And so it wasn't until, so I got divorced around 2011, and I wish I had started back then, because that's when the Mike Trout, you know, the Topps traded card came back, but didn't, you know, wasn't on my radar screen. I met my current wife in late 2012, and we got married in the fall of 2013. And even then, you know, the priorities were getting married, buying a house. I had my cards in boxes and things like that, and some things in top loaders, old cards, but, you know, nothing, you know, modern or anything. So what really kicked it off was in August of 2014. We were about a month away from having our daughter, Lucy, and we went to a car dealership down by Cincinnati, between Dayton and Cincinnati. It was actually Joe Morgan's Honda, and I thought, well, this is weird. Like, does he really own this dealership? Or are they just using his name, or, you know, what's the deal? So actually, when we were there looking at, we were looking for a Honda CR-V, like a smaller SUV, something that we could take my daughter in, you know, when she was born. And because prior to that, we just had sedans and really wanted something a little bigger. So I asked the salesman when we were there about the whole Joe Morgan thing, and he's like, oh, yeah, he co-owns it with another guy, Voss, that owns a bunch of dealerships up here in the Dayton area. And he said, you know, he's here today. Would you like to meet him? And I'm like, wow, that'd be sweet. So he comes walking down the aisle, just a nice guy, you know, real normal, no fame, like, aura about him, you know, wasn't arrogant or thinking he was big stuff or anything like that. Just a real nice, personable guy. So we kind of got into a conversation with him for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then he had to head down to the ballpark. He does radio broadcasting, or he did, excuse me. So we ended up buying a vehicle from him, and as a nice thank you gift, he gave me an autographed baseball, which was awesome. So I have that on my shelf downstairs. It's not the greatest ball. It's a practice ball, and he signed it in blue marker, so it's not like a real nice ink pen, but nonetheless, really personable gift, really nice. We did end up getting the car from their dealership because they had the best deal and the lowest miles, so kind of worked out. But that kind of jump-started me back into the hobby, and ever since 2014, I've been buying some cards. I started out slow, Joey Votto is my favorite player. I had an autographed baseball of him, and so I decided I wanted to make this little man cave corner, I guess you would say. I don't have a man cave, it's a man cave corner. That's what my wife's allotted me in the basement. So with some shelves from IKEA, I figured it'd be cool to have like a mishmash of autographed baseballs and memorabilia and some cards, whether they were auto cards, relic cards, things of that nature, rookie cards. So I started out, my first purchase of a graded card was a 2008 Topps Joey Votto BGS 9.5, and that's what started my Joey Votto PC collection. I consider myself a quasi super collector of Votto. I have quite a bit of his cards, but I was just looking at, and I'll show you guys at some point, but I was making a list of his rookie cards, and I only have 10 of like the 32 or 33 that I have, through my research, identified as his rookies. So that's one of the things I'm going to be trying to build on for this year and forward, is getting some more, like starting out with the ones that are a little bit more common and then going for the more rare ones. So after that, it just kind of went, and I started buying some packs and boxes in 2015, 2016, 2017. The biggest pull I had, which was awesome, I won a free box of cards from a breaking site that I broke with, who's no longer in business. It was a 2017 Topps 1 Jumbo, and ended up getting a Bryce Harper 87 throwback auto, which at the time I thought was only worth maybe 50 to 100 bucks, but through research, and I've since discovered it's probably more like 300 to 400 bucks. So that was awesome. My PC, I like a lot of the Reds prospects: Hunter Green, Nick Senzel. Really like Joey Votto. Still collect some throwbacks of like Barry Larkin, Johnny Bench, things of that nature. Really like Billy Hamilton, and unfortunately he got traded. He was one of my favorite players, but I have some of his rookies. So still going on the Votto strong. I haven't seen anybody with quite as big a collection as I have, at least on YouTube. So anyways, it's a little bit for you guys to get to know me. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll continue next week with another episode of Chris's Card Talk. Thanks, have a great week.